I may have two topics. It may just be one. We'll see where this magic carpet ride takes us. Um, but I've seen this consistent theme amongst people inside the community, and I want to talk about it, which is this is something that has happened at multiple stages within my business career, and it's extended seasons of saying no. And so, if we define focus as the quality and quantity of things that you turn down or say no to, then to be the most focused person, you would literally do nothing but one thing. And so, if I am a very focused, drinker of fluids, I would continue to drink fluids at all hours of the day. I would stay awake. I would do nothing but drink fluids. And so I hear many of you say that you want to focus more, but you haven't really even defined what it is. And so you think it's going to be about like trying harder to look at your screen when most of focus is actually the active removal of things that drain attention. And so what happens is kind of like value is created by removing all friction. Focus is created by removing all distraction. And so you like the most focused people, it's not that they have willpower that you lack, it's just that they have removed the distractions that you have. And so I remember this talk with a friend of mine who's an Olympic coach, and he was saying the difference between people who win the gold medal and kind of the other competitors, people look at them and say, I wonder what they have that I don't. But more often it's what do I have that they lack? And so in those instances, it's typically an off switch, but it's also what are the things that I'm doing with my time that they aren't? And so fundamentally, it's not even that they're getting a higher return for the time they're putting in, they're just simply putting in more time. And what feels incomprehensible for you is that you could put more time into whatever you're trying to pursue right now, but you can by removing things. And so some of these are mental focused things. And so, one of my favorite quotes is that the heaviest thing in the world isn't iron or gold, it's an unmade decision. And that's a quote from me. So man, super deep. But 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 for real though, you probably have a few decisions that you need to make. And one of the big fallacies around decision making is that it takes time to make decisions. And it really doesn't. You make decisions in an instant based on information. And so, by the way, for those of you who sell, when someone is in this kind of like, I need to think about it, it's like, what do you need to think about it? And what information would be required in order to make a decision? And so some of you need to define the variables of what would make this a yes. And alternatively, if you don't know, then what would make it a no? And then you can reverse engineer the yes. And so in either circumstance, some of you need to focus by eliminating the unmade decisions in your life by simply making them. And there's this big fallacy at all levels of business of the perfect pick, which is that you're going to be able to somehow pick perfectly. And most decisions have to be made with imperfect information. And oftentimes, if you have perfect information about an opportunity, the opportunity has expired. And so one of the things that makes opportunities is the risk inherent in incomplete information. And so sometimes you just have to move and learn along the way. And so one of the easiest visuals I have for this is the mist, is walking through mist, right? As you walk through mist, the next few feet are always become clear to you, right? And when you walk your way up a mountain, and now imagine a mountain that you're walking through mist, right? You keep walking, you keep taking the next step. You might get to a maximum and be like, wow, this is a mountaintop. But then you see a little bit further because the mist, and you realize you're at a subtop and you have to take a few steps down. But the thing is that you'll always be further away than the people who are trying to plot the perfect path from the bottom of the mountain without being able to see the top. So you'll always be able to have better perspective after taking action, after taking motion. And so the reason that this has been top of mind for me is that the big growth periods that I've had in my life in terms of finances have typically followed, or at least happened concurrently with extended periods of what I call seasons of no. And what's interesting is that I'm sure this has been studied in research, but we know that people are significantly less effective when they try to do multiple things. So multitasking, you're significantly less effective when it comes to output per unit of time. You switch back and forth and it kills your efficiency by like 75%. And so if we consider our leverage as the difference between what we get for what we put in, then skill is a great lever on work. Meaning, and if work we define as output, then the more skilled person for the time they put in will have more output. So skill equals leverage, work equals output. The more skill you have, the more output you get. And so if you can get more output, then it means that choosing to do fewer things is in and of itself a skill. And I think I bring this up because some of you are like, man, I'm not that focused. But the thing is that the focus isn't a trait, it's an action. And you can do this on a repeated basis so that you can become more focused by simply exercising focus. That means choosing to make unmade decisions so that you can resolve them, knowing that they may be imperfect, but you have the ability to course correct along the way. There are very few decisions in business that are truly irreversible, and especially when you're starting out, because the stakes are so low. And so you're not making bets that are so big. And so to the point I was making earlier, the biggest periods of growth in my life have occurred when I committed wholeheartedly to periods where I would do nothing else. And so like currently I'm actually in one of those periods right now, which is why it's partially top of mind for me and also in reading some of the comments that you guys put out there. And I think the big thing that people miss is that it's a trade-off. And so one of the issues is that basically people have a preference problem, which is that they want these results their way. They want to have their cake and eat it too. They want the outcome, but they want to change the variables that create the outcome. They want a six-pack, but they don't want to do the workout and the nutrition plan. But they're like, but I want the six-pack. Can I change the nutrition plan? Can I change the workouts and then I'll get the six-pack? And the answer is obviously no. And so the thing is that some of you have come to this world with the desire, my world, whatever, with the desire to get those outcomes. And I applaud you for that. But that applause is short-lived if you want to change the variables. And so most of you have a huge deficit in work capacity. And so my point around this, and I'll give you a fitness example because a lot of people wouldn't understand it, and then I'll translate it back to work, like knowledge work. But whenever you work out, you damage a muscle and then it overcompensates and you recover and you get a little bit stronger, right? That's kind of the basic idea. Okay, so think about like digging a hole, you put more dirt back in, a little bit comes on top. That little bit extra is kind of the hypertrophy is the gain. Okay, so the issue with most people's focus here, where was I going there? I'd workout. I did two analogies and I forgot my where I was going from. Do you know where I was going? Yeah, Kirby's like, I have no idea. Thank you. Just so you guys know, I'm also human. Yes, fully ironic on the focus front. Okay, so the workout analogy as it comes down to work. Work capacity. Okay, so work capacity itself is that people understand it that way. And so then people have this fear of overtraining, overworking, right? They're like, I don't want to work too much, right? I don't want to work out too much. I'll damage myself too much. But the missing variable that people have when it comes to building muscle, just as much as it comes to working, is that your work capacity itself is trainable. Meaning, if you're an athlete and you train and you damage the muscle and then it grows, you actually, over time, your ability to withstand the work improves, meaning you can add more volume without overtraining. Your recovery capacity to put dirt back in the hole actually speeds up. You get a bigger shovel that can move more dirt faster. And so the reason this is important is that when we relate it back to the work that we do, I had this attorney tell me this when I was about to say a child, when I was 21, Kirby's age. And so I said, man, I've been working so hard. And she just looked at me and laughed. And she said, you don't even know how to work. And it was such a jarring moment for me because she was a partner at this firm and I was trying to impress everybody. And I thought I was like, doing a gung-ho job. And she just laughed at me. She was like, you don't even know how to work. She's like, it takes you 10 years just to learn how to work. And I remember thinking, being a little bit disheartened by that at the beginning, but I feel like now looking in retrospect, I can absolutely agree that my ability to work itself has improved, my capacity has improved. But the way to improve that capacity is to start eliminating the things that currently drain your focus right now. And so then all of a sudden you realize, once you kind of like have the bare naked truth of your calendar in front of you, you have nothing else left. And then you still are struggling to stay focused, then you can begin the work on your work capacity. And so the big piece number one is the unmade decisions. You want to eliminate those by making them. The second big piece is that you want to eliminate the things that are not the work, right? And so a lot of people obsess about, morning routines, things like that. You want to eliminate all that stuff. The next category is going to be relationships and hobbies. All right. And so some of you guys may have hobbies, and I want to be clear. There are hobbies that are basically function as rest. So if your work output per unit of time over a long period of time, and I want to be clear about this, you can always work more in 24 hours if you only had 24 hours to work. You just shouldn't sleep, you shouldn't do anything, take a ton of stimulants, and you'd work more. But over a week, you lose productivity. And so my point here is that you not rest. You should work as much as you possibly can and then rest as efficiently as you can so that you can resume work at max output. And so for you, if gardening is a thing or playing video games is a thing or whatever, I see that as separate from playing video games as getting in the way of work. If you work first and then you allow yourself to reward yourself with video games at the end of your workday, that actually does two things. It actually gives you a reward for work and it gives you rest, which is nice. And so I would encourage some of you guys to put off extended periods of time before the thing that you might want to do more. And I want to kind of disclaim or decry actively the idea that everything that you're about to embark on, whatever season you're in, is going to be fun. Like there's the vast majority of the things that I do every day aren't that fun. I do enjoy what we build. And so if you want to build this big chateau, this big castle, laying bricks, not that fun. Like digging moats, not digging trenches, not that fun. Like cutting wood, nailing it in, not necessarily that fun. But when you have a castle and you get to live inside of it, you're like, this is pretty dope. But the thing is just like, so people have this big conflation, there you go, right? Between the thing that they want to get and the process of getting there. And it's a very pithy soundbite to say like, you should just, never work a day in your life again if you do what you love. But no one does what they love all the time to do the things, to get the things they want. And I'm actively about this. And so zooming back out with regards to business owners in different seasons, right? Is that when I was a consultant, so this is all the way back to when I had my job. And so for some of you, this will be relevant. I didn't really go out at all. I would spend 4 hours a day after my workday doing practice problems for the GMAT, which was what I thought I was going to do as my next step was take the GMAT and go to Harvard and then kind of like go the MBA route. And then that's all I did. I took 100% of my discretionary time and put it into acing the GMAT. And then once I realized that the GMAT wasn't going to be the next path, I then drove across the country. That eliminated friends, that eliminated family, that eliminated anyone who knew me. And then I started a gym and I pretty much lived at the gym. And so I by default created an environment of focus because there was nothing else for me to do. And so for that next chunk of time, I was just dedicated to making this gym work. And that also meant that during that period of time, I didn't read like general business books. I wasn't watching like motivational videos. All I did was just look at how do I get more members? How do I sell better? How do I price? All of my focuses are on the run problem that I had. And so many of you have a specific problem that you know you need to solve, and yet you're not allocating all the resources in your discretionary time and effort towards solving it. And so I think that what's interesting about this is we've seen on the 100, which is the little group that Kirby and I are running as a side project to see if we can do anything different on onboarding. And inside of that group, I think we've had 86% of people make $1. Is that correct? Yeah. And so 86% of people have made $1. And then I think something like 60% of people who had never made $1. So we had 3 cohorts inside of there. We had people who had made money on Skool but wanted to compete. We had people who had made money outside of Skool, so business owners in general who've made $1 and then they'd never made $1 on Skool. And then we had people who'd never made $1 anywhere. And so those are the 3 cohorts. Now, cohort number 1, people who'd already made money on Skool, all of them have made money. So that's 100%. Of the people who made money elsewhere and then came onto Skool, do you know what the percentage is there?
100%.
100%. And so what's interesting to me about that is that shows that there are now, because that's the reason that that second category is so important is that it demonstrates that there are skills that when applied to Skool, like basically Skool is a great platform to immediately be able to build a business on. And so then it's like, okay, what other skills must a beginner learn? And this is what we're trying to figure out is like, how many of these extra skills does someone have to come in with that we can eliminate so that someone can be successful, right? And so right now, I think it's, do you know what the actual percentage is on the third box, people who had never made $1?
62%.
So 62%. Okay. Now, some of you who are new here would hear that and be like, man, I want to get into that. The thing is that most of the times, the stuff that we've actually covered in there, we've already covered it. And so you think that there's a secret, and there really isn't. And so I think the thing that really separates the people who have made money or more money is the expectation of the effort required. And I think this is where a lot of people struggle because it's really that your expectation can be 100x off. Like I've seen expectations truly off by 100 times. Like this should happen in 1/100th of the time. I should be able to get a customer. If I should reach out to 5 people, I figure I'll get 1 customer. When you really need to reach out to like 200 people to get a customer. And then you're like, oh, wow, that's a lot more people than I expected. And it's like, yeah, it is. And that first customer might pay you 1/10 what you thought, right? And so all of these things are expectation problems more than they are problems of, they are declarative knowledge deficiencies people don't know about rather than procedural knowledge, know how to. And so I'm making this mostly because I just see this as this really monstrous recurring theme, and it doesn't end. Like that season of cutting things off, I cut things off when I started, when I did the GMAT to study to go to business school. Then I cut everybody off when I went to start my gym. And then when I started flying out and doing launches, I literally was flying around the country and saw no one. Like it's all I did. And I really stayed in touch with no one besides Layla, who was basically my partner in the business when we started it. And there's a period where I'm in right now where I more or less have said, I'm not traveling, I'm not speaking. I'm only taking podcasts if they fly to me, et cetera, et cetera. And so right now, there are these things. And the easiest way to determine this is look at the time that you spend on a weekly basis and see everything that is not work. Like look at the whole calendar. Look at every single box of yours that does not drive. And I want to be clear here. If work is the output, right? And money made is the output we're measuring for entrepreneurship, right? How does money get made? So money gets made by at the most basic levels, converting attention into goods and services that are exchanged for money. That's it. That's the fundamental exchange that occurs. There's some person, you have to get their attention, and then you have to be able to transact with them to make an exchange. That's it. And so when I say look at your calendar and then determine how much work you're doing, if it's not something that's getting you more leads, getting you more traffic, getting more people to come to your site, opt in, get contact in, give you contact info, whatever, and or increasing the likelihood that they convert and or transact with you, aka you sell them something, or increasing the likelihood that they retain, they resell, they refer, or they leave you a review, the 4 R's on the back end. If the thing that you're working on when you look at your calendar does not relate to any of those big 3 buckets, which is basically attract, convert, deliver. If you don't have anything that's occurring within those 3 buckets, then this is not work. And so it is actually unfocused of you to have those things. And I would say it's most common at the beginner level to have these things. At the advanced level, it's that you fill your time with work tasks that are not the constraint of the business. And so it's the idea that you are doing things because you like doing them rather than because it's what's required. And so I'll give you an example. So if I, for example, I love marketing, fine, right? That's what it is. So if I spend more time generating leads for my business, but my constraint of my business is my sales guys, I don't have enough sales guys to take the calls, then me generating more leads adds potential to the system, but not throughput because I'm limited by the number of sales guys. And the same would be true if I then increase the number of sales guys, but then I did increase my number of customer success or my delivery team or inventory if I had product. And so the issue is that in the beginning, you just work on a lot of stuff that's not work and you call it work. Later on, you work on a lot of things that are work, but are not the work that needs doing. And so it's a minor difference that happens. And I'm telling you, this happens at all stages. This happens at $1 million a year, $1 million a month, $1 million a week, all the way through. I've seen this across the board. So you're not too advanced to hear this. And I say this because this is something that I struggle with every day is like, is this the most important or highest leverage thing that I could be using with my time? And I think many of you are simply spending the vast majority of your time not working. You think you're working, but you're actually not. And I had a guy email the other day because I spent a day with a higher level group of business owners. So it was like 5 to 35 million was the room. It was 10 guys. And so like decent sized businesses. And he wrote this very nice email back and he said, the biggest lesson that I learned was like, I had heard of this amount of work ethic. He was like, but Alex didn't leave the room for 11 hours straight and he didn't stop the whole time. And he said, I'd never actually seen it. I'd never seen it. Right. And so I bring this up just because you have so much more in you that you can only tap into by removing everything else. And I think that when I've had these big breakthroughs in my life, it's because I was willing to say no. And the thing is that the more things you say no to, the more painful it is. Like, man, I love fantasy football with the boys. I love going out on Friday nights. I'm not saying that you have to do it forever. I'm just saying you do it for now. You just do it for a season. Because the thing is that these dedicated seasons is where sometimes you can pull 4 years of the future into your life in a matter of months. But you actually have to stick with it and you have to do it for that period of time because you have to confront the discomfort of not knowing. It's the unknown of figuring it out. And so a lot of you continue to think that basically because you want to avoid the pain of not knowing what to do, you think you will solve that pain by doing more research. But again, you're trying to solve something with declarative knowledge, learning about something rather than procedural knowledge, which is learning how to do something. And the only way you learn how to sell is by getting on the phone. The only way you learn how to run ads is by running ads. Fine, you can read an article or two, but I promise you, you'll learn significantly more the day you actually start and you'll look back. And for anybody who's a parent, I can imagine that you read a couple parenting books and then you're like, it is not even close to what running, to actually having a child is like. And to the same degree, those of you who are starting a business now, if you read some business stuff, it wasn't anything close to what actually running a business is like. And so the goal of this, if I have one call to action for you guys who are listening right now, is to remove everything that is not the work that moves the business forward. And at the advanced level, it's making sure that the work that moves the business forward is the work that moves the business the most forward per unit of time. I could have an improvement in CRO. That would be like if I split test my landing page and I get a 5% lift. That's an improvement. I could try and work with the sales team to get them to close a little bit higher. That would be an improvement. But the biggest gains in my life came from asking the question or solving impossible questions, meaning, okay, what would need to occur in order for me to 10x this thing in a year? And then saying, what would have to be true? And then oftentimes there's only like one thing that has to be true for that to happen. And if I know what that one thing is, then the next question is, given the resource, time, and money that I have available to me right now, is it reasonable that I could accomplish that one thing in the next 12 months? If the answer is yes, then the highest and best use of your time might not be the optimization, but might be the maximization or order of magnitude change that you do to get the outcome. So what I mean is, you can only optimize something to 100%. You're never going to get 100% conversion on your opt-in page. You're never going to get 100% close rate, but you can 100x your lead flow. And so I see this oftentimes, and I see this at different levels, to be clear. But I'll see a business owner, you guys, you'll get stuck on like this obsession around tiny optimizations. And at some point, you just got to do an order of magnitude more. You just got to blow more through the top so that you can get a huge increase, right? And so, and the only way that you'll be able to recognize that and dedicate the resources to it is to eliminate the hobbies, the people, the unmade decisions that are limiting you, and decreasing the time between once you know what you should do or need to do and actually beginning to do it. And I think that a lot of people spend too much time doing everything else, because I think that the people who are the most focused, when you actually watch them, you would be astounded by basically how simple it is. It's just that it's very difficult. It's simple in that it's easy to understand, difficult in that it's hard to execute. If you watch someone write a book for 16 hours straight, you're like, okay, that's what writing a book for 16 hours straight is. But what you don't see is all of the prepping the table for the work that happened prior to and in the years leading up. So almost every billionaire that I know in my life maintains such a clean space, physically, and then more importantly, emotionally clean space. As in, the people that they allow in their circles, they have one razor that they use to judge them, which is, does this person increase or decrease the likelihood that I achieve my goals? So does having this person in my life, does having this habit in my life, does having this phone call, does having this brunch, does having this weekend trip, does it increase or decrease the likelihood I achieve my goals? And I think that a lot of you in the beginning are so afraid, and to be fair, even as you progress, because it happens in levels, are so afraid of cutting things out because you have a fear that you'll never get it back. You have a fear that that cut is permanent. You have a fear that if you miss out on this fantasy football season, that you'll never get invited back. But there's two things that you'll have to remember, which is that one, a more capable version of you will have more doors that open than you do today. And so you'll never lack for opportunity in business or lack for opportunity in friends if you get better. The reverse is not true. If you get lamer and you stay in fantasy football, they still may not invite you back, but then you've lost both. And so I have yet to have more doors closed for me in the future than I have had in the past, because the trade that you make is becoming better, and there will always be more doors for better people. And the only way that you get there sometimes is by closing the doors in front of you today. And so there's just this fallacy that it's an irreversible decision, but it's not even that it's irreversible. Let's say there is a door that's irreversibly closed. The fallacy is that a better door does not exist in the world, and that a better version of you wouldn't have access to it. And that's the real fallacy. And so that's my encouragement. That means that there is a better friend of yours than your current best friend that exists for a better version of you. There's a better hobby for you than the one that you currently have when you are better and you are more able and you have more resources. And so I know how scary it is at any level to cut people out. I cut people out today, like all the time. Like in this year, I've cut multiple people out of my life. So it doesn't end. What happens is your standard raises. Your standard, your bar of who's allowed in your space. Because as your goals get bigger, new people, or rather old people, fail the new standard. So does this person increase or decrease the likelihood that I achieve $1 million status in my life? Well, I mean, I'm already there. So they don't need to hit that bar. They've already kind of crossed it. They're still in my life, already hit it. But does this person increase or decrease that I hit the likelihood that I get $10 billion in my life? No, I don't think this person's going to be somebody who's going to increase that likelihood. If not, then why keep them? And so a lot of you guys are doing this for different reasons, and I can appreciate and respect that. But I would posit that the reason that matters most is who you become along the way. And I have yet to see a person who accomplishes more by taking on more. A lot of big truths are inverted. Like you get the most by giving the most. You get the most done by taking the least on. And so it's these ideas that, like, the thing is what feels intuitive. If the intuitive answer were the correct answer, then everyone would already be achieving it. And so it's the counterintuitive solutions that we have to be mindful of, because those are the ones that don't seem right at first glance, but only people who have the procedural knowledge of having gone through it, who can kind of lead the breadcrumbs and say, no, like, you really do have to focus. It makes sense that if you did 5 businesses, all 5 should grow, but it's not reality. So it's counterintuitive that one business will outgrow 5 if you actually focus on it. And all of the effort you have also at a micro level, you have 5 tasks within that one business. If you focus on the one task that matters most and you put all your resources towards it, it will grow the whole business more than trying to do 5. And so it happens all the way down. And the only way you can do that is by clearing the way. And I would say that most of the times when I talk to the portfolio founders that we have, most of what I talk about is what they're not going to do, not what they are. Just being very real. A lot of the strategy is, what are you not going to do? And what one thing, if we accomplished it, would be so big or so important that it would make these other things irrelevant. And so I try and take our priorities list of 5 things and say what one thing matters, and let's erase the other 4. And if we just did this one, we will succeed. And so right now, I'm gonna bring this home for you. Many of you have this big list. Who here has a big list of things that they know they should do right now? Just give me a little shout out in the chat. Who here has quest things? Massive list, right? Huge list of things that you know you should do. So lean into this. All right. So pay attention. This is for you. I need you to take that whole list and pick one thing and then erase the rest. And then once you complete that one thing, you do no other task besides that one thing. That means the next time you sit down, you eat, you come back, you get back on the task, right? And if you need to buy a little timer, or you do it on your phone, get a little timer and actually see what your time on task is. Say how long you think this should take. Take an estimate. And what you will find oftentimes is that something you think will take 2 hours sometimes takes 20 minutes. But the pain of trying to figure it out, so it might take you 10 actual minutes to figure it out, and then 2 minutes to do it. And so the thing is that a lot of the work that you have right now, especially when it's the most important work in the business, is work you don't know how to do. Because if you knew how to do it, you'd already have started. And so it's the unknown that creates the delay. It's the fear of being inadequate, the fear of failure, because we have it all the time. We all have it. And so if you can define part of the problem solving as wrapping your arms around the problem, understanding the problem is part of the problem solution, then you won't feel like you're being unproductive as you take 45 minutes to understand the problem, then 5 minutes to solve it. And so right now, you'd also be amazed at how much easier it is to solve problems when you're only trying to solve one. And so when you try to solve 5 at the same time, you're so spread thin and you're bouncing between different things that are contingencies of one another. When if you just solve one, the amount of mental bandwidth, like, basically said differently, you can be a lot dumber and win if you only try to solve one thing at a time. And so there's a reason that I have this tweet that went really viral, but a focused fool can accomplish more than a distracted genius. And so I've met a lot of you, and you're very smart, but you're distracted. You're easy to beat. I'd be grateful to compete against you, because I know I wouldn't even be competing against you. I'd be competing against all the other things that are competing against you. Because all I got to do is beat 1/20th of you. not that hard, no matter how smart you are. And so what's interesting is that a good visual for this is, if you think about yourself as the sun, right? Like you're the energy source, right? In your world. And you need to burn through a hole through a piece of paper. Like that's what you have to get through. A sun has more than enough power to burn through it. But if the sun is evenly spread, it just warms up the paper, but it doesn't even break through. But if you take the magnifying glass, even a small amount of magnifying glass, you'll be able to burn the hole through. But you have to focus all of that energy on one point. And so many of you have suns and suns worth of energy, but you're so spread thin that all you do is warm your stuff up. You never cook it. You never break through. And you would be amazed at how much more you can accomplish when you only have one thing to do. And here's the second one. This one's that you want another counterintuitive one you don't expect. Is that the speed of doing 5 things in a row is faster than doing 5 at the same time. So if you do number 1, and then because you know these other 4 things are still important, so that these other 4 drive you to do number 1 faster, because you're like, shit, I still have to do these other 4. So then you get number 1 done, and then you're like, all right, now I'm going to start on number 2. So you start on number 2, and you're like, I still have to do 2, 3, and 4. But the problem is, because you haven't been able to prioritize, you haven't been able to focus on what one thing is the most important. You are afraid of having it take too long, so you start on all 5, and in so doing, make it take way longer than it would have taken to begin with. And so I would say, if I had to TLDR this is about how to work. And it works at all seasons, whether you're advanced or you're starting out. It's just that the nature of the distractions change, but the highest output work process remains the same. It's just that the quality and quantity of your distractions improve the better you get. And so it's a lesson you have to relearn at every level. And so with that, my friends, I think we could transition to the A's and Q's. I hope that was interesting for you guys. It's just been something that I've seen within the community a lot. And I think that if you got I'm gonna be real with you guys, if you need accountability, you're never gonna win. That's what no one's gonna tell you. If you need accountability, you're not gonna make it. So you need to be your own witness. And if you can't be adult enough in your own life to be the person that you want to hold yourself accountable to, then you need to go fix that. I think Epictetus has this great quote. He said, if you need, do you know what that quote is? I know you do, Kirby. It's one of my favorite, it said, if you are ever tempted to look for outside approval, realize that you have compromised your integrity. If you need a witness, be your own. And so I'll say it differently. If you are ever tempted to look for outside accountability, realize that you have compromised your integrity. Because if you need someone to hold you accountable, it should be you. Because no one's going to save you. And I see this theme of I see the amount of comments I get in DMs are like, Alex, make me money. I can't even, it's so far down the awareness scale. It's like, I can't even comprehend it. But the thing is that some of you guys are new and some of you guys are there. And I want to kind of pop that bubble of reality and be like, show me a millionaire who needs to have someone hold them accountable. Because here's the thing, even in the fitness, weight loss world, smoking cigarettes, whatever you want, whatever thing that you're trying to do, right? If you need someone to hold you accountable to smoke cigarettes, you're never going to get hooked. You gotta be able to smoke the cigarettes on your own, right? You gotta be able to do it on your own. I'm joking. But if you want to lose weight and you have a coach, it's great. Great. You lose the weight, but then what? Will you have that person until you're 85? At some point, you have to take responsibility. And so many of you are distracted, but you don't take accountability for the distraction. And the way that you take accountability for the distraction is being willing to suffer the pain of removing the things that you have been allowing to distract you. And so a lot of you are just a few hard conversations away from having 5 times the amount of time to work on this stuff. And anybody who told you it's going to happen quickly lied to you. You can look at every ad across the internet for Skool. I do not say it's going to happen fast. I say, look at what happened for these guys, and it probably won't happen for you. Like, I say, you won't be the richest person in your neighborhood. You're not going to be on the Forbes list, but it can help you get started. And so if you are doing this is your first time, one, welcome. But secondarily, don't expect to happen in 30 days. Now, for some of you, it will, and it does, and that's great. But for those of you who are true zeros, who have never done anything before in your life, there's a lot of skills you got to learn. Now, anybody who's made money outside of school in the cohort we had made money inside. They did. And so what we're trying to delineate, obviously, is what are the fewest skills we can help someone learn in the shortest time period to help them win. Now, we got 62%, and we have a long way to go, and we'll try to get to 100 over time, and we'll do our best, you know? But you have to be the one who dedicates that time, and it's not going to happen in a month. And so if you're here and you're new and you're like, oh, it has to happen in the next 14 days, or I can't afford it. Dude, you're never going to make it. You're never going to make it. You got to be willing to trade off something else. There's something else in your life that costs you more than this that you don't need. If you truly want what you say you want. If you don't truly want what you say you want, then it means you prefer getting your nails done to having the business you want. You prefer getting the new shoes to having the business. You prefer the nicer car payment or different insurance option or whatever streaming services that you're subscribed to. Just say it like that, which is, I would prefer to have shoes than have the business of my dreams. I'd prefer to have this couch than have my freedom. And if you just say it like that and you're good with it, then you won. You're great. But if that statement isn't true, then change reality and make it actually match your own ideals. All right, this is just something it's been bugging me, and so that's what I want to talk about. All right, let's talk about some amazing cues.
I asked the chat what their biggest distraction is, and the most common response was related to the content that they consume. They're consuming educational content. So how do you know what's a distraction and what's not when it comes to consuming content?
This is a really good question. So you want to consume information or content relevant to the constraint. So I think general consumption of information is actually entertainment. And so, for example, if you're like, I used to do this. When I was in college, I would watch all the TED Talks. So I watched every TED Talk because I was like trying to get better or whatever. But the thing is that I basically had no goal. And so when you're mindlessly consuming, you want to begin any kind of consumption with, what problem am I solving? And if you can be very clear and intentional about what problem you're solving, then it will orient the consumption of the content and you will have a finish line. And this is the key point. The finish line is when you solve the problem. And the difference between education and entertainment is the output. The point of entertainment is to be consumed. The point of education is to change behavior, which also means that one person can watch the same piece of content and get entertained, and another person can watch a piece of content and get educated. Education occurs. It's not that a piece is inherently education or entertainment. It's just that which is it increase the likelihood in a larger audience, a larger percentage of the audience change their behavior, and therefore it's educational. There's absolutely movies that you've seen that are entertaining that change the way you behaved and therefore educated you. And so we can know, black and white litmus test, if you are trying to solve a traffic problem and then you consume information, then you execute on that information, it changed your behavior. And then if that didn't solve your larger problem, which is you still have a traffic problem, you go back, you consume something else, you change your behavior again. And you keep that cycle up until your conditions change. When your conditions change, you've completed that micro loop and you begin the next one. This is how you learn. And so by all means, I'm not saying don't consume content. That's why I make what I make. That's why we're doing what we're doing right now. And if you get off this call and you change what you do, you have learned. So then it was net positive. If you get off this call and change nothing, this was entertainment for you. What's the next one?
Ryan says, when you start saying no, how do you overcome the feeling of missing out?
Real talk, man. So I just made a podcast about this. I would say that it's taken me 14 years to get here. And I'm like, this is like my lessons and failures of the year for those of you who don't follow my podcast. I used to make one of these every year. Like, what is my lessons and failures? And so I'm doing it as a multi-part series this year. And the biggest thing, and this is relevant to focus, is I don't have FOMO anymore. And it's taken about 14 years to get here. And it was more that I've noticed it. It's not like it was not something I actively worked on. It was more that like I have now noticed that when I see someone crushing it in something, I'm not like, oh man, I wish I could do that. Or like, oh, I just think like good for them. I'm doing my thing. And basically the more you learn about something, the more you realize there is to know. And then you know that the things that you have this fear of missing out on have so much depth that you don't understand, that you know that you're not actually missing out on it. And so my CFO had this saying. She's 65 and she retired when we sold the year after we sold Gym Launch. And she used to say this thing. She said, she's worked in like, I don't know, like 15, 20 businesses over her career, had multiple $100 million exits, $5 billion, like very, very seasoned CFO. And she said, you know what I've learned across all the industries and businesses I've worked in? And I was like, what? And she's like, it's all shit. And she didn't mean it in a negative way. She just meant that like every business has hair. Every business has problems. And so every entrepreneur has this misconception, this distortion of reality that their cousin or their brother or their whatever has it better than them. And so this fear of missing out is that somehow someone else is getting a better return for the work they're putting in. But what it really is that they're getting an adequate return for the work they already put in that you have no visibility into. And so the problem with witnessing someone else's success is that you don't see the work. And so this is what creates the unrealistic expectations. This is why people have 100x discrepancies between what they think it takes and what it actually takes. Because you only see it once people win. And so you don't see 10 years of podcast before it pops off. You don't see the 5,000 pieces of content before we had our first viral clip, right? You don't see that. You just see the viral clip because that's when everyone sees it because it went viral. And so that's one of the fundamental misconceptions around FOMO is that you actually underestimate. It's the uninformed optimism of the new opportunity that it somehow, some way has no cost and only upside. And it's just not true. Everything has hair. Bezos said everything has overhead. There's always stuff that's not good. And so I think I've just had enough experiences of jumping and, maybe you go need to jump a few more times to learn it, but I hope you can get the scar without the lesson, or rather the lesson without the scar. That the hardest lesson I've had to learn as an entrepreneur is focus, which is why I talk about it so much. But there is no opportunity out there that's better than the one you have because you just need to get better anyways, regardless. And that's a constant. And so most of the opportunities, I think Munger said this. He said the new business is sitting on your desk in front of you, which basically means that you need to confront the work you have. Like the best opportunity is solving the problems that you need to solve that you don't know how. Not doing the new thing. That's just a perceived missed opportunity. The real one is like make sure every customer you have tells their friends. When you do that, you have no need for new opportunities because by being so good, you create the opportunities happen by definitionally. What's the next one?
So it's just getting customers or getting traffic, converting them, and then retaining them.
Yeah.
Why does everyone overcomplicate it?
Yeah, that's it, guys. For those of you who are new here, you will typically think about this in sequence. What would you focus on? Well, you cannot convert people until they find out about you. You cannot retain them until you converted them. So what must you do first? Let people know you exist. How do you do that? There are 4 ways. You can partner with people, you can make content, you can outreach, or you can run ads. Those are your options. And if you're not doing that with the majority of your day, then you're not doing the work that matters. This should hopefully simplify this. And what happens is a lot of you just like do 10 outreaches and make one piece of content and say like, why isn't this working? The amount of people that I've actually seen do the rule of 100, because I get tagged on Instagram, people being like, I'm day 38, day 67, and tag me, by all means, tag me. I have yet to see someone hit day 100 of the rule of 100 and not materially change their life forever. I've yet to have it happen. Not once. Not once. Think about that. Not once. And the reason for that is because volume negates luck. When you reach out to 10,000 people, you're going to get a customer. You just are. You just are. You make 100 pieces of content, the top 1%, the top one piece of your 100 is going to do much better than your median by a lot. And that one will generate leads for you. And so taking the extreme that I started this call with, which was what one thing, if I were to accomplish it by the end of the year, would change my life forever or would 10x this business. Some of you just need to find one partner that you could do whatever you possibly like, who already has the audience. And then just say, if you reach out to 10,000 people to partner with them, someone will partner with you. And then that also solves, what do I make my group about? Whatever their group's going to be about. Where do I get my traffic? They already got the traffic. But they don't want to work because you have something they have. They don't have. You've got skill and you got time. They've got an asset. They've got an audience and traffic, but they don't have time and they like money. And so you both like money, and so you combine forces.
Michael Mumenthaler. How do you balance getting work done and working on mental well-being?
I never work on mental well-being. I think working is a great way to work on mental well-being. So I'm gonna be real with you for a second. All right, this is for. I feel like it's just like the world is unhealthy right now. So I will make this. This will probably take 4 minutes. So this may be it. But here's the deal. One of the primary symptoms of depression is ruminating on painful experiences. Rumination, which is basically like a continuous loop of thinking about and talking about your problems. And so I think that the vast majority of people actually perpetuate their problems by consistently wanting to talk and think about them. And imagine a world where you forgot, let's say you had a tragic car accident and you forgot about the problem. You forgot about that thing that somebody said. You forgot about your dad who was mean to you. You forgot about the girlfriend who broke up with you. You just forgot about them. It's just like, boom, hit with a shovel, it's gone, right? Now what? If you just lived your life afterwards as though that didn't occur, does it matter? And so I think the best way to build resiliency, and so by the way, this is my definition of resiliency, which is the time elapsed between disruption and return to regular function. So if I'm a resilient person versus a non-resilient person, an aversive experience, a negative thing happens, how long does it take me to return to normal function? A resilient person returns quickly. The most resilient person doesn't get upset to begin with. And so if you want to demonstrate resiliency, it just means acting as if it didn't happen to begin with. And so there are many therapists and holistic energy hoodoo nonsense people who will tell you that you have stored your trauma in your body like you're a fucking computer. I'm like, tell me where it stores. Explain it to me. Where is it storing? What drawer is this trauma being stored in? As though it's something that we have to save, right? And what is trauma? Trauma is a permanent change in behavior from an aversive experience. That's all it is. It means you permanently change what you do based on something that happens, which means you learn. Now, the question is whether trauma is good or bad is whether you learn the right behavior. If you went to war and someone died in front of you and you heard a bomb and you hear big loud explosions or something, someone honks a horn, and what it does is that trauma, aversive experience, permanently changes your behavior, and then your behavior changes as though someone is dying. And so you have a big adrenaline response, right? And so the idea is, okay, if we were to hit my head with a shovel and that disappears, then all I have to do is change this behavior. And so if you want to get over things that are hard, you just act as though it didn't happen. And then you just keep living. Now, someone is going to have a problem with this, but wait a second. Let's say you keep living the rest of your life that way, and then you die. What now? I think it means you got over it. And so that is Alex's 2 cents on how to make time for mental well-being, which is fundamentally be useful. I have yet to find a human that had incredible utility that didn't find purpose. So be useful. A lot of people don't give themselves a shot to enjoy life because they think there's something wrong with them, when in reality, they haven't given themselves a chance. Like if you're overweight and you're living in your mom's basement and you have no skills, you should be depressed. That's depressing. You have no use. But the thing is it's 100% under your control to change. And so you might have a chemical imbalance if you have everything else. So if you work hard, you get in shape, you start contributing to society, you develop some skills, you start making some money because you're providing value to society, much more difficult to be depressed. And guess what happens when you fill your day with productive things? You have less time to ruminate. So if you want to feel better, do more. All right. I'm a minute over. Love you all. Be easy. I'll catch you guys in the next one. This is a Cybertruck. This is $100,000. And somebody watching this video right now is going to win one of those two in the next 30 days. In fact, last month, Keytron won. Which one did you win?
Cybertruck.
Was it worth it?
Yeah, sure.
And he did it by building a community that helped people fix their credits and got to $132,000 in his first try. And listen, that was amazing for Keytron, but let me tell you about the other top 10 people that were here with me. And so here they are on the leaderboard, and here they are in real person. And so Adnan got to 27,000, Vineet 40,000, Ryan got to 44, Ted got to 48, Max 40, Anthony 101, Javon, Salah, Kevin 123, Meg 48, Devin 37. And so listen, I could keep talking about this, but you might be wondering, what's Skool? How does it work? Well, let me explain. So Skool is an online platform for building a group online about whatever you want. It's easy, and sure, everyone says that, but how easy? Well, right now, 1 out of 2 people who start a community online make money. Yes, 54.1%. And the reason that we have such a high success rate is because we spent hundreds of hours studying thousands of successful groups to figure out exactly what they did to make money. And then we broke it down into a step-by-step recipe for making money. Doesn't that smell good? And so we boiled it into do this X times per day and do this Y times per week. And it works. It works so well that right now the average paid community makes $1,360 per month in recurring revenue, which is pretty sweet. So no, it won't make you into a billionaire, but it will help you get started. And you can keep scaling all the way up like the 10 people that I was just showing you earlier. And on top of that, we built everything that you need to run a paid group on Skool already. So no, you won't need to start a Stripe account. No, you won't need to build a website. No, you won't need to have any inventory. And you won't have to hire anyone new. No thanks, guys. We're good. Skool works out of the box. Ta-da! It's that easy. We built it that works the same way as social media, so you don't need to learn anything new. All right, there's not even a single piece of technology that you figure out. You just log in and you can collect money in minutes, literally. And if you're just starting out, here's you. You're literally who we built Skool for. So remember those crazy people that I showed you over there? Say hello. Hey. They did this last month, and if they can do it, so can you. This is built for people who are brand new to business or brand new to online business. And if you're wondering, well, do I need to have an audience? No, half of those guys didn't have an organic audience. And these guys are the winners. So no, we'll show you where and how people are getting their first customers absolutely free. Follow me. Listen, if you don't believe me, think about it like this. If we get 1 out of 2 paid communities to make money, most people don't have organic audiences. So we had to figure it out or no one would stay on Skool, but we have. And that's why we have tens of thousands of groups on Skool right now. And as much as I'd like to think people love me, people stay because they make money. And we'll show you exactly how they did it. And also, just to make sure you don't get stuck on any step, I answer questions every single week. I hop on calls. And so if you want to hop on there live, we usually have 200 or 300 people who hop on those calls. So it's not huge. And so now's the best time to get started. So if that sounds at all interesting, the best part is you can start a community of your own absolutely free. Just click the yellow button below this video, enter your details to start your absolutely free trial. Worst case, start for free, you decide to quit, and then you can take all the training that other people charge thousands of dollars for with you for free. Again, that's the worst case. Best case, you take a zero risk move and build an online business that could change your life forever. And to be clear, I'm not asking you to decide yes or no today. I'm asking you to make an informed decision. That's it. And the only way you can do that is on the inside, not on the outside. So get inside and see if everything that we say is true and valuable to you. Then if it is, in 2 weeks is when you can actually decide for real. And if you get in and decide it's not for you, no sweat. But you can't truly make an informed decision right now for the same reason you don't buy a house without looking inside of it first, or test drive a car before buying it. So this is a guaranteed risk-free test drive. And listen, whether it's 13 minutes or 13 days from now, if you decide that it's not for you for any reason whatsoever, all you have to do is go to your profile and click cancel. That's it, 1 click. And the only reason you can make an offer that strong is because you're confident that what you have is the real deal. And I'm fairly confident that when you sign up by hitting the button below, you're getting exactly what you need to start your online business. So you might as well give it a shot. The only other guarantee is that if you don't take this shot, you'll stay right where you are right now. But if you take action, you could be the next one coming out to Vegas celebrating how quickly you built an online business with consistent monthly recurring revenue and driving away in a Cybertruck or with 100 grand in cash in your pocket. Pretty neat. So click the button below, join us in the Skool Games. I take calls every Monday, hop on and be sure to let me know you're new. I'll see you on the other side.